Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 71 of the Parenting Autism Podcast. You can find us on the net at parentingautismshow.com. You can email us at parentingautism@att.net. Thanks, Sandy. And my brain, where is it? It's not here. But you can find us on all over social media. So just search for Parenting Autism and poof, there we are. So we got Bryce around here, and he's probably going to pop in soon, I would imagine.
There's a knock at the door.
Come in.
I'm over here.
Hi.
I'm back.
Yep, you're back.
Mommy, I gotta help you with something. Storm is smoking online, so can you help me? Can you send a message one more time so we can get online?
So this is a great example of we've had Bryce off of gluten and dairy now for about a month, and you probably just heard all the words come out of his mouth, but we are super excited about it, and we'll be talking more about it on the show.
And let's just take a break
Yep.
real quick, and we'll come right back.
Okay, we're back.
We are back. I got him all settled in, I think. We'll see.
All we can do is try. Okay.
But yeah, that was a great example of how Bryce is talking so much more and talking in just his thoughts. He's asking us questions that he hasn't asked us before.
He's saying thank you like all the time now.
Well, yeah, it's just like all kinds of manners because he's just a little more calm.
Yeah. Calm?
In some way. Let me finish that sentence. In some ways.
Okay.
Calm in the sense that like he's not urgent demanding. Because it used to always be, give me this, give me that, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, can I have this, please? Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like he's calmer in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now his energy level, on the other hand, continues to be high.
Yeah, high.
And we had mentioned in the last podcast that I started taking him to that trampoline jumping place, Defy, which has been great for him. Mm-hmm. But he does have a lot of energies. And today when we asked him, he was doing his spinning again because I have a little bit of a cold, which you might hear on here. And so I've only taken him once this week because I just haven't felt well. But he was spinning again and getting that feedback. And we asked him, why do you do that? I think you asked him. But he said he needs to get the energy out of his feet. Because you ask him which part feels best. Feet. And he goes, my feet. And I get my energy out of my feet.
Yeah, it helps me get my energy out.
Okay,
yeah,
that works. So then we brought out the gymnastics mat and said, won't you spin here where it's a little bit safer since we're not taking him to Defy today. But it's been really, really good.
Yeah, it has. And for those of you that don't know, we've been 3 or 4 weeks on.
We're a full month into this now.
Gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, casein-free, egg-free, free.
Soy, you said soy. There's a lot of frees.
A lot of frees. So we're doing a lot of chicken. A lot of people are probably wondering what we're eating. We're eating organic chicken, organic ground beef, organic anything we can get our hands on that are organic.
What about those steaks that you make?
Those steaks were not organic because they did not have organic steaks. So
it was delicious.
Yeah, salt and pepper on the grill. That was good. But, we found out that it's not enough to just go with a label that says non-GMO. It's really the USDA organic that where they're not allowed to use pesticides and herbicides in the food, on the food. And so we feel better eating that way. It does cost a little more, of course, as you guys are probably aware, but we've cut way back on all the boxed foods. A lot of times you go gluten-free and you're like, oh yeah, let's go to the gluten-free aisle and buy all the cookies and the bars and all that stuff. But you got to think that when they make those things, they have to put a lot of other things in with it that may not be so great to make it taste good. So like I said, we're doing fruits, vegetables.
It's a lot more natural and a
meat.
lot less processed.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how I would describe it.
Yeah.
And I know I've had even like some family and friends here knowing that we've made some changes and they've observed some positive things, with us. And, so I just jotted down a couple of simple examples, even though I know we're talking about maybe doing some YouTube videos to add because we're figuring it out. And so, right now it's simple, not something that I'd be going and putting on a video, but simple for us is the steak, as I mentioned, with a baked sweet potato. And we had said before, I don't even use the brown sugar. Sometimes I'll just put honey on the sweet potato with cinnamon. I can go either way on that. But you made the other night shrimp. It was grilled shrimp, and you'd put some type of lemon, and it was with the gluten-free spaghetti that we got from Jovial. That was really good. I mean, it was a good version, a knockoff of shrimp scampi, which I thought was great.
And I used the ghee in that for the butter.
Right. So it's like the healthier version. We do chicken. It's a lot of chicken. But, it's something that's got some protein in it, and we got to have it. We'll do it with veggies. We'll do it with steamed white rice. But the saving grace for me is the coconut aminos instead of soy sauce because we can't have the soy.
Right.
But that coconut aminos is really good.
We've tried a couple different ones, but you landed on a good one. I don't remember the name of it.
Oh, I didn't know there were variations, but I will tell you that is really good.
We did the whole 30 and we had coconut aminos and it wasn't so great.
Oh, I see. I don't remember. But this is a winner for sure. I like it. And then like today it was after church and you're like, so what's for lunch today? Chicken or hot dogs? Because it was like, I'm so over this, as your lunch options. And so I said, well,
I was kind of playing too.
Give me a minute. Yeah. Let me think. I know you are, but yeah, kidding, not kidding.
Yeah.
So I came out and I said, well, why don't we just make burgers and sweet potato fries? We've been talking about making the sweet potato fries. I'll take that on if you don't want to, and you can make the burgers.
So you're kind of badgering me because I'm sitting there in thought, and you're like, what do you want to do?
Well, it's the looks on your face.
I was thinking, I've got. It's a whole new way to think because it's not like making burgers before where we would put the breadcrumbs in there and egg I mixed with the burgers and I'd put ketchup in there. We had some good burgers, but listen, that we can't use that stuff anymore. So I'm sitting there thinking in the car, okay, how am I going to make this grass-fed ground beef taste good when up to this point, really, we've only used it in sauce? And where, it gets saucy and you don't taste the gaminess as much,
I gotcha. I didn't taste the difference today. In fact, I forgot that it was grass-fed until you just mentioned it.
Well, that's good.
Because when I took a bite, that's definitely not what I was thinking.
Yeah. So we've been, and this is along those lines, we've been trying to determine what's causing Bryce's acne. And we thought it was nightshades, but we took nightshades out and we seem to have another flare up. And
it's not as bad. I want to say that. So there's something that, like those bumps on the side of his face are still there, but we haven't figured out, and I'm not willing to go away from that yet.
Yes. So, and what I'm getting at is for the burgers, I used McCormick's steak seasoning because people want to know how to make this stuff.
I gotcha.
So that has paprika in it, which is one of the nightshades. And so, we're talking about what we're reintroducing with the nightshades, and we're keeping a close eye on his face, and we're still trying to figure out what the pimples are. But in any case, I use the steak seasoning and some of this really good Hemingway's Havana barbecue sauce. It's got I can understand and read all the ingredients in it, and so it was very good. So I just used that. and the steak seasoning, and I chopped up some onion into really small pieces and put that in there.
The barbecue sauce in the burger or on your burger?
In the burger.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because that's got nightshades in it.
Right. I told you.
Because of the tomato.
Yes. I was telling you as
Well, I thought the paprika was the only nightshade.
No.
So, like, for me personally, I'm also trying to dodge the nightshades when possible because I know that it's a big offender for my reflux issues, which really regressed. Do I know that? Well, that's in writing.
Yeah, but what about potatoes? Oh, nightshades in general is not good for
tomatoes and peppers. Okay. So they never mention potatoes, but definitely tomatoes and peppers and onions are no-nos. So I thought, well, that's 2 out of the 4 nightshades. Maybe that's not helping my cause. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to avoid it. So like today, for example, I did not put ketchup on my burger, which normally I'm a ketchup girl. I'm not a mustard fan. So
I don't even think we have ketchup.
No, because Bryce doesn't eat it, and I'm trying not to. And you prefer mustard, so you got that, which is great. But I took a pickle slice and I chopped it up, and I took a bite of pickle with each bite of my burger, and that helped. But I'm not. Like, in other words, me pouring ketchup on my burger, I think would be a lot worse for my reflux than you putting a little bit of barbecue sauce and paprika in the burger. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm getting at. Like, I'm not being extreme about it, but I'm definitely more aware of it and trying to be conscientious of not... like tomato sauce is a big one, right? And the other night, I also get a little burned out on chicken every night. So you're like, what can we have for dinner? I'm like, well, why don't you make, because you found a really good tomato sauce that's jarred, but it doesn't have the sugar. It doesn't have all the stuff in it. That's bad.
Right.
And so I'm like, why don't you make that with the ground beef? And it's the grass-fed ground beef. And we'll make it with one of our gluten-free noodles that we've discovered. That was a great meal. I mean, it was a really great meal. Bryce doesn't care for tomato sauce anyway. So for him, he was happy to just have the noodles. And you know what? That's fine. And then we give him like some broccoli or we give him something else. But he didn't have the tomato sauce, which was great. Because for him, I don't know if it would make him break out more or not. So we're just trying to keep an eye on all of this. We're not eating out very much. If we do eat out, like we're getting ready to go on a trip to the Midwest if COVID doesn't shut down America again. So my thought is we'll just start planning in advance as much as we can. We'll buy as many groceries to take with us, or we'll find a place to shop when we get there where we can just pack snacks with us and get fresh fruit and things like that. And we'll do the best that we can. Life's not going to stop, but we're doing so great with all of this. All of us. I'm so proud of everybody.
We've probably eaten out 2 times in the past month, I would say.
Yeah, twice. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And the stuff that we're bringing in, there are good options. So it can be done.
It's a lot more dishes. It's a lot more work, but it's going into your body. And we're feeling better.
Yeah. I mentally feel better. I physically feel better. I'm seeing a weight I haven't seen in 4 years. My clothes fit better. I mean, everything's good in that way. But most importantly, I just feel like we're making better decisions to take care of ourselves. And one thing I was going to talk about today is the importance of brain health. And, you had listened to this interview that I know you want to link into the show notes. And it was a conversation that I guess was done on YouTube and a podcast, really just about how food affects us. And it's pretty deep. And I have to say, it's about an hour and a half. And some of it was over my head. It did sound like Greek. I would say that I understood probably 75% of it. It really resonated with me. Just the fact that thinking about what we consume and how it affects our health. Yes. And instead of just trying to find a medication to patch the problem, let's try to figure out what's actually the root of causing the problem and solve it that way. And there's no doubt in my mind that food and the way that it's changed, and he was real specific, and I won't repeat the podcast, but he was real specific about how things changed in the mid-90s. And I think there's so much truth to that, because we always say, man, we had this as kids and I don't think it was a big deal. And it can be named the same food, but it's not actually the same food. And I think that's where it's been deceiving. And so, I also want to say this just for listeners that may hear us talking about this and think that we are trying to get on the soapbox and to change Bryce. Because there was a comment that came in through social media, and it's hard when things are being posted to know what people are talking about. But you had posted something about chemicals, and we don't want our lawn service spraying chemicals in our yard anymore. And there's good reasons for that. And we don't want it tracking in our house. There's a lot of things. I just want to make this clarification. We're not making all these changes in our diets and the things that we do for Bryce specifically and for us to change him. We love Bryce for who he is. We know God created him with a beautiful autistic mind. We learn from him every day. We accept him for who he is, but this is where I come in. Like, we all need brain health, and we all would, if we had a diagnosis that there was something wrong and there was a way that we could make it better as far as like a treatment,
it's our responsibility.
We would try that. And that's what we're doing for Bryce, but we're not just doing it for him, we're doing it for us. Do we hope to see positive changes for Bryce? Of course. Do we want to see positive changes for us? Of course. It has really nothing to do with his autism specifically. It really has to do with, this is just the way that he has been created, and we know that doing these things can help him and help him have a better quality life, not change him, enhance his life. And that's probably the word that I would like to use, is we're doing all this to enhance his living and his life and all that lays out there for him. So I just really feel like that's important for people to understand our reasoning behind these things, because that can get lost in translation. But just watching him remain his happy self, but not only that, he's happier. And I think he's happier because he's thinking more clearly and he's able to communicate with us more. And today was a really big milestone at church. And we've talked before, if you've listened to our podcast, that our church has a buddy system. And they actually have a room that we can take Bryce. And Miss Debbie's been his buddy for a couple of years now. And she's very invested in him emotionally and in so many ways. I mean, it's like extended family. Well, today Bryce made a really big decision on his own to leave the security of the buddy room and to go into the children's, what do they call it?
Club? No.
Studio. Children's studio is what they call it. And it is a large room. There are a lot of kids because we go to a larger church. I think he went in on the tail end of the music because that was his concern. But he took his headphones and he had his headphones on. We have pictures. They being the leaders there were so excited that Bryce did so well. But Bryce was also excited. And he said, "Are you proud of me, Daddy?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah, I'm proud of you." I said, "You should be proud of yourself." He goes, "I am. I did it.
Yeah.
I went into the children's studio.
Yeah.
I did it." So this was a really big thing, because the last week when we just asked him about it, he said, maybe when I'm 8 years old. So he was giving himself time to prepare.
Yep.
But he wanted to go this week, and there is this sweet little girl that just joined the buddies. So I'll give a shout out to Tiffany. She's 15, and so she's younger, and he's connecting to that a little bit. And he told me last week, "Mommy, she's 15. I said, "She is." He goes, "And she's a girl." I said, "She is." He just puts these facts together. And so one moment, please.
Come in. Hi.
Can you come see something silly that Crusher's gonna do?
I can't.
A rocket ship.
Can you close that door, buddy? We'll be out in a little bit.
We'll watch Crusher when we're done, okay?
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
He's watching Blaze and the Monster Machines.
Yes.
So I was talking about Tiffany, and she went in the children's studio last week. So this is where this kind of came up, because she didn't stay in the buddy room.
And Bryce missed her. And so he had the courage this week to go. And Miss Debbie was crying, and Miss Lisa was so excited. It was really, really a big moment for him. And those are the kind of milestones and smilestones, that we're so happy and grateful for. I know I'm talking a lot over here, but did you want to say something? I know, right? No. I was a little excited. No, it was a great day at church, and we are excited for him. And it's going to be so much more exciting for him to attend church if he really likes that environment, which he said was amazing. And so I'm excited for him.
I am. And I will say, I don't know how much he's comprehending. And I think he does comprehend more, and that helps. It's not like he's going in and it's a complete foreign language to him. But they sent me pictures, so I had an idea of what they did today, and they had like 20 questions about God, and he was to answer yes or no to those. And he was excited if he got them right and not wrong. And there was a prize box. So Bryce is like any other kid in that way. Like he responds well to rewards. And so I guess if you bring your Bible, you can get a prize out of the prize box. So his first question was, can I take my Bible next week? And we're like, sure. And he does have a little children's Bible. So I love that he's being responsive, just like any other child would be responsive to getting a reward.
Right.
It's great.
Means something to him now, where before he was more oblivious.
Yeah. So it's just good timing, and God has his perfect timing for everything. I don't want everyone to think that we've done this diet for the past month and it's all rainbows and unicorns here.
Right.
Because it's not.
Well, I'll tell you what, another improvement we've seen is his self-injurious behaviors. He has not really gone back to that. I mean, we've seen a big improvement in that area, and I don't know if I can attribute it to the diet, or I don't know.
I think it's a combination of things. I do think the diet is part of it. When I was talking to my sister-in-law at dinner the other night, and I was telling her about what we were doing, and I said, well, it was really bad with Bryce. I said, for 3 weeks, we were logging some type of destructive behavior, either to himself or to something else, every day, and sometimes twice a day. And it was very concerning. And we said, we have to do something fast and kind of drastic, So that's what we did. And we have not logged hardly anything. And the things that we have logged, which I'm going to talk about, the two things since we've last recorded, were things, again, that were beyond his control and things that were unexpected, but not the type that came with having to change from a preferred task to a non-preferred task. That has minimized because he's using his words more.
Yes, he is.
And he's saying, I'm upset about this. Daddy,
I'm sad.
Why? This is a sad time for me. That's what he said today, because we're trying to take electronics away from him when we eat a meal. And we're gradually working with that because it's just a terrible habit, and he can't even focus to finish his meal. So we're getting back to that, But he just said, it's a sad time for me, Daddy, to not have my Switch while I'm eating. Why do you keep taking it? Before, that would have been a boom, 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 of some sort, of lashing out or hitting something or himself. But instead, he's expressing it.
Yep, and that we praise him for doing that.
Absolutely.
We're like, wow, thanks for using your words to tell me, Bryce. And I'll try to either quickly explain why I took it away and then redirect, or redirect right away, depending on whatever the situation is.
Depending what the situation is. And sometimes when he expresses his emotions, I let him know, I feel those same emotions too. And I'll give him examples why I feel those emotions. He's trying to figure it out.
I want to come back to that video that you watched. I don't want to get too far away from it before I talk about it. I first watched it, and it from the conferences that I've been to about autism and everything else that I've learned, I'm like, wow, this doctor is really on point with what I've been thinking and what people are talking about now. So if you go to YouTube, and we'll put this in the show notes, his name is Dr. Zach Bush, and he's doing an interview. If you type into YouTube GMOs, glyphosate, and gut health.
How do you spell glyphosate?
Glyphosate is Glyphosate.
Thank you.
And for those of you that don't know what glyphosate is, that's the weed killer.
Oh, that would be me.
That's showing.
Okay.
That's what's showing up in our food supply. And if you haven't heard about it showing up in our food supply, just Google glyphosate and cereal, and you'll learn about it. But in any case, he very clearly explains how our food has changed, how these chemicals are getting into our bodies, how they're passing the blood-brain barrier and getting into our brains. And
it was very enlightening.
Very intelligent. I mean, this guy, he's a genius.
Well,
in my
he used
book.
to study cancer cells.
Yes, and so that's how
his background.
That's how he starts out, is explaining, how he worked on chemotherapies and what that does to the body. So he's very intelligent and smart. And if you want to know about chemicals in our diet and what it's doing to us, and the new foods that are labeled wheat that aren't really wheat anymore, it's a very good listen, and you'll learn a ton. Even if you don't understand 25% of it, like what Sandy said, you will still be...
I think you'll take away something.
You'll be very educated.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out to our Wiggle Seat winner from our last episode. We were giving away a Wiggle Seat, and Matthew Angel was the first to come in and request the Wiggle Seat. So we sent that out to him, and his son is enjoying that. So we're glad that he got that for his son. And there's a couple of websites or places that I want to mention that are, one is a very helpful resource on Facebook. So if you guys out there have questions about autism or foods, or find out what other people are doing for their kids, there's a Facebook group called TACA, TACA, and that's for the Autism Community in Action. That's what that stands for. So if you Google that acronym and follow that with Hope and Help for Autism, you'll find their Facebook page, and you'll want to like their page, because we're not affiliated with them at all, but they have a lot of useful information for parents. And if you just, I don't know, I didn't know this early on, but if you find the magnifying glass on a Facebook page that you like, and you type in a certain term like constipation or, self-injurious behaviors, it will take you to all the posts on that Facebook page that have to do with that subject that you type in. So
I didn't know that either.
You didn't know that? Okay,
nope.
Yeah. So
that's why I listen to this podcast.
That's so
I
funny.
learned things.
That is funny. So, and then one other place I want to send you is the IACC, which stands for the Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee. And this is the committee set up by the United States government to work at finding root causes of autism and helping us as parents in the community. And there's been a lot of controversy around this group, because us parents at the ground level have not felt like they've done enough for us. And it wasn't until about a month ago that I even heard about this committee that was set up several years ago. And so if you go to their website, just Google that name, the IACC, and sign up for their conferences, their newsletter, and whatever, and provide any and all feedback that you can to them, because we want to hold them accountable for doing their jobs to help us. And a lot of people feel like up to now they have not done that job. and they have a new head of the committee now. So now might be a good time to jump in on that.
Yeah, you might want to spell it out, because when I typed in IACC, there were other organizations.
Yeah, if you follow
that was not the first one I saw.
Or you could probably just Google Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee.
I would recommend that.
Yeah, so
to find
there
it.
you go.
You got it.
And I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
So. Oh, and if you don't know how to leave us a review, since this is going to be in the show notes, you just on iTunes, on your podcast app, a lot of people don't know how to leave a review. So you go to our podcast, you pull up our podcast, and you scroll down the page until you see other reviews. I think it's toward the bottom, and it says write a review. And so if you click on the star rating that you want to give us, of course, probably 5-star, right?
That would be preferred.
Hopefully, yes. If you give us 5-star, then I think it opens up another window where you can type out comments. So that would be helpful to us too. So if you don't know how to write a review, that's how to do it.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads me to another topic that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Because our summer binge watch has been the series called The Chosen. Mm-hmm. And the producer's name is Dallas, and he will talk about getting the self-funding.
Yeah.
And it's hashtag shut Dallas up, because he says if they get enough money, then he'll stop talking. So
right.
I jokingly said, we would love to get 100 reviews, and maybe you could keep asking, and we could do hashtag shut Chris up until we get 100.
Because I'm asking for reviews?
That's okay. It's
that's
good.
Funny.
But in all seriousness, The Chosen, I did want to talk about that briefly on here, because I've seen it on my Facebook feed. People had mentioned it, but I really didn't know anything about it. And then it's so funny because my brother and I, we will say, oh, are you watching this or watching that? And so I told him, you really want to check out The Chosen? And he goes, oh, I found that back in December. And then I was thinking, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's really, really great. So I don't want to be like him and not share. So I'm sharing that. Well, it's a really great series about the life of Christ and the disciples. And I am a visual person. So seeing this played, and it's so well acted and it's so well written. Mm-hmm. It's just like nothing I've ever watched in my life. And I've been a Christian, and I have been in church since I was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. So it's been, over 40 years. I've never seen anything quite like this. And I've heard that from other Christians saying the things that I've said to you, and they're saying, and I'm like, yeah, it's really true. It's very, very well done, very engaging, and I'm completely enjoying it. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, it makes the words of the Bible come alive. That's the best way that I can put it. It's like when you see, obviously they have to fill in the blanks of where, the space in between Bible verses of what it must have been like, and, the conversations that people had outside of what's exactly written in the Bible. Right. But it is very accurately depicted based on what I know from the Bible. And I've repicked up reading Luke, because it does give Jesus' account, and I'm kind of following along the way of the show through that.
It's true. It makes you want to pick the Bible back up. And so specifically, I wanted to talk about Matthew, because they have written Matthew to be on the autism spectrum with high functioning, as they would call it, Asperger's. Mm-hmm. But the actor playing it, I've heard him in his interviews, and, he really wants to do justice to the character. And again, this is something that it's an assumption, because back then that wasn't documented. Mm-hmm. But I think because he has the genealogy in detail.
Yeah,
that's very the only gospel that has that kind of detail, and just things that have kind of been written about Matthew's life. You can kind of see that he's got those differences. Well, they play to that, and they play to that well. And as a mom with a child who's on the autism spectrum, I'm happy to see that. And I know that can get controversial because, no, they're not showing the side of autism that is so difficult.
Nope. Hello.
But it's still very real.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, the bell, the 3 o'clock bell. There it is.
Thank you, Bryce.
He didn't even say a word.
Nope, he just wanted us to hear that 3 o'clock bell.
Okay.
And there's a lot of things that I just see with that character that do remind me of Bryce in some ways. But it's just been a great series to watch. And for our spiritual walk, I can't get enough, and I'm super excited about
Season 3.
that they've got more seasons coming, and that we're going to be able to see more of this. And so I just want to put that out there, that if you're looking for something to watch
that's clean,
that you don't have to worry about your children walking in, it's really good. It's really, really good, and I do recommend it. So
cool. What else you got?
I feel like I'm getting pushed along here, but I only have a couple more things,
you said
and
you
then
wanted
we'll
to
wrap
briefly
up.
mention that.
Did I?
Yes.
Well, then I start talking about Jesus, and I didn't want to be brief. And
No, that's
I
good.
Felt
It's good.
A little
It's an excellent,
more there.
excellent show.
But then I'll just totally change topic and go from that to my other notes.
Okay.
There's no segue here, so we'll go with Bryce's behaviors. I'm going to just go back to that.
Okay.
Because, again, we were talking about all the positives, and we're grateful for all the positives, but I also want to keep it real. And we are obviously still dealing with a lot of other issues. And so for Bryce, just to give insight about Bryce, because, again, I cannot speak to all other people's lives and how they deal with autism. I just can speak for Bryce. And I can tell you that he is very hardwired when it comes to time and calendars and dates, and triggers for him definitely have to do with dates. And so where I'm driving with this is that we talked the last time about him having a massive meltdown about air pillow being popped. And it was really sad. And that was in the last episode. It took him a long time to recover, but we got through it. I knew he was still sensitive a few days later because his therapist brought it up, but it never came up again. And then the following Monday, around the same time, and I wasn't here, it was just the two of you because I was back at work. The Monday that it happened was a holiday and I was off. You sent me a note and you said, Bryce really got upset again about the air pillow. Remind me to tell you. So from what you were able to remember to tell me, because I understand a lot happens in the day, he brought it back up. It came out of nowhere. He teared up. Am I right? And then he said he was going to destroy our house.
Oh, yeah.
And he was trying to go to extreme. So he said he was going to take a saw and cut it down. He was going to take a hammer and knock it down. Then he said he was going to get a wrecking ball and knock it down. And like to him, he couldn't get extreme enough of how upsetting it was for him.
That's true, yeah.
And I think that's how he's trying to verbalize it. Like that's not even enough. Like even a wrecking ball isn't enough for how much I want to destroy this house so that I never have to hear that sound again.
Yeah. So that day I was very quick on my feet, and I'm very thankful for that because I was able to turn that around lickety-split because I related it to his Animal Crossing game. And I said, oh, no, not a wrecking ball. You're going to flatten the house with a wrecking ball? We're going to have to start over in a tent because that's how they start in Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Well, this smile came across his face, and then I just played off of, we're not going to have electricity. Oh, and he thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And, all the bugs, and it's going to be hot, no air conditioning. So he was just, I was able to turn that around, and in the end, we were laughing about it. And thank God that I was able to do that because it was heading down the wrong road, and I'm sure people listening are nodding their heads, when it's like the point of no return and you cannot recover. And that's where it was going. And I was like, oh, whew, wow.
Well, and it's interesting because I use the word trigger because that's what I find with all humans. There are things that will trigger memories. And like for me, certain songs will take me back to a place, or a smell will, or whatever. But with Bryce, it's like if he has a trigger for something that was traumatic to him, he has a really hard time letting that go. And then the anxiety sets back in. And, it's part of that vicious cycle of his anxiety. So I was really, really grateful that God gave you that wisdom to turn that around so quickly. And that was great with Animal Crossing because that's still, the hot topic of discussion for him. And that was great. And so before I go into the other drama thing, I will share this because if anybody is familiar with Animal Crossing, we've talked about it on here a little bit because we have found it to be really great for Bryce. And they have different tools that he uses. Yeah, and he uses a net to catch bugs, and he has other things.
You going to tell him about the wasp?
I am. And when we were at dinner last Sunday, we went out to dinner with Grandma Roro, who takes us out to treat us now and then. And we happened to see my brother and his wife and some family there. And so they stopped by our table to say hi. And Bryce was like surprised to see them. And then he goes, "Oh, I'm so happy you're here." And then he asked Aunt Leslie, "What's your favorite bug?" Which I'm sure she was thinking, why is he's asking me my favorite bug? But she went along with it, and said the ladybug. And he also asked our waitress, who he had never met, and he asked, "What's your favorite bug?"
Which he never would have done that before.
No, and it had to just do with his Animal Crossing. And it gave him something to start a conversation. So there's a plus. But leading further with that, the net, we had talked a couple episodes ago about one of Bryce's meltdowns, and you went into the dollar store and you saw this net for $1 that you picked up, and it did make Bryce smile because you're like, "Look, I got you a net like for Animal Crossing." So we keep it in his room. It hangs on his bedpost.
Yeah.
And so one day this week, a real wasp got into our house somehow.
And it's a big deal on Animal Crossing if you get stung by a wasp.
Oh, yeah, you'll black out and end up back in your house.
You have to get medicine.
Yeah.
It's a big dramatic
It's not good.
thing,
so Bryce knows you don't want to get stung by a wasp.
Right.
So he says to Daddy, "There's a wasp in the house."
Yes. And if you haven't ever been to Florida, I think we have the largest wasps in the whole wide world.
They're like gator size. Yeah,
they have
very big.
Large wings, feet that almost touch the ground.
Long tail, stingers.
Oh, man, it's long bodies. They're
all right,
huge.
So it was you. Tell your story with the wasp.
Okay.
Oh.
Bryce, hey, come here. We're telling about the wasp. Do you remember the wasp that came in?
Did Daddy catch a wasp?
Yep.
How did
Excuse me, can you write a new message?
Write a new message?
A brain in your phone.
If you go over there and go tell the people about the wasp, and I'll send them a message.
So what happened with the wasp, Bryce?
Daddy Daddy accidentally, I saw a wasp in the house, and I got the net and gave it to Daddy, and Daddy took it out of the house right in time.
Just in time,
Good
right?
Good job.
And where was he flying?
He was flying on the lamp, the light.
Yeah, near the light on the ceiling. Yeah. And so I grabbed the net from Bryce, and I'm like, "Bryce, go open the back door." But I knew by the time he would have done that, it would have been too late. So I kind of used the net to get up near the wasp, and the wasp actually landed in the net and just started walking around inside the net. I'm like, "Oh, yes, I got him." So I ran to the front door, and I threw the net and the wasp out the front door, and I slammed the door shut. And we got him out, didn't we, buddy?
And you sent me a note and said...
I think you slammed the door.
So he wouldn't come back in. I closed it really fast.
Chris
I probably
said
didn't slam
that was
it.
the best $1 he's ever spent.
Excuse me, can you type the message?
I did. It's all done. All right, go wait for him to come back.
Yep.
Thank you.
Storm's waiting for his cousin to come on and play with him.
Bryce is waiting for his cousin Storm.
I mean, yeah. Hello.
Okay. Go ahead, baby. We're almost done,
Can you close the door for us? Close the door.
Thank you. Close the door, bub.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. So anyway.
So that was just
funny.
a cute story to share. I'm glad Bryce got to come in and share that.
It was a big deal. He talked about that for a couple of days.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only other incident really that we've had that was noteworthy, I've mentioned that we're taking him to Defy, and I'm trying to figure out the right time slots to take him.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a time slot that I have now removed from my list. A blackout time would
Sunday.
be on a Saturday. No, not Sunday. That was fine. Saturday afternoons, because there are birthday parties all afternoon at Defy. And what I learned was when it's somebody's birthday, they come over the speaker.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah. And as soon as I heard them say, "Hey, everybody, we have a birthday in the house." So I'm looking for Bryce, and he's across the room from me, up by the slide. And I saw him take his hands to put them over his ears, because that's what I was like trying to signal. And what I didn't expect them to do was all of these people, teenagers and young adults that work at Defy, they are placed throughout
to keep an eye
the
on
building,
the kids.
and they have whistles around their neck to blow should they need to get their attention. So everybody blew their whistle at one time. So we're talking probably 15 whistles easily at one time, while all the people in the building are clapping and cheering at the top of their lungs.
Yeah.
So when this happened the first time, Bryce got inside the slide when the whistling and the clapping happened. And then he came out, and I was like, whew, we dodged a bullet, right? Thank you, Jesus, I'm thinking. Short-lived, they did it 2 more times, like back to back to back.
Wow.
So by that time, I mean, I knew.
What are you going to do?
It was over. I couldn't even get to him. I'm looking
like...
for him, and he's looking for me. And he's coming across the room, and as soon as he made eye contact with me, because he wanted me to see his reaction, he dramatically fell to the floor. I'm sure he hurt himself pretty well. And it was a big fall. So I ran over to him, and I grabbed him, and I'm consoling him. And we had met friends there that day, you know. And I had already explained to her some of the stuff that was going on. So now she's getting a firsthand witness as to what we were dealing with. And so, you know, I was just consoling him and covering his ears and apologizing on their behalf. We had no idea. But you're safe now. They're done. And, you know, all the things you would say. And, of course, he's just the dramatic 1,000,000 times. I'll blow the whistle 1,000,000 times, you know, because, again, the biggest, most dramatic number he can come up with is what he's going to say now, because it's just so bad for him.
That's how he describes it. You know?
So when I got him calm enough, I had Michael come down. I said, Michael, come down and tell Bryce it'll be okay. So Michael comes down and says, it's okay, Bryce. It'll be okay. He's so sweet. And so I said, do you want to go play with Michael now? I think he'll be okay. And then Michael goes, let's go do the slide. And then Bryce was like, oh, no, I want to go and do. And he wanted something else. So he probably didn't want to be near the slide because of the drama that just happened. But he was cool. And he said he wanted to go over and play at this other thing. And the two of them took off and they played. And we got through it. But then I thought, okay. And I told my friend Krista, I'm like, okay, we got through that, but I have a feeling it's not over, and this will come back up. I just don't know when it's going to come back up, how it's going to come back up.
Yeah.
So even before we left, Bryce went over to one of the young girls that works there, and I saw him saying something to her, and I didn't know what all he was saying, but then I went and I got closer, and I said, what did you say to her? And he said, I told her if she blows her whistle, I will have to leave. And I said, well, good for you, buddy.
Yeah,
I mean, he voiced his opinion and his thoughts there.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And then after he got, like, he had to get his anger out at somebody. Yeah. So she took the brunt of it, which she handled it well. And who knows what else he said. But he told her that. And then later he went over and he said something else to her in a friendly way. Yeah. And then I heard him say, okay, I have to go now. Bye-bye. And he like waved bye-bye to her, because now he waves bye-bye, because when he plays Animal Crossing with Auntie Sue, she waves bye to him. So now he knows to wave bye to people. So it's really cute.
Yeah.
I was so proud of
stuff.
him for speaking up for himself, because we are his advocates, but for him to be able to advocate for himself,
Right.
huge.
It's a new
Very
twist,
huge.
really, because up to now, we've been advocating for him, and we will speak up when something like that happens. We would go to the counter and say, okay,
Sure.
do you have any more birthdays happening? Let us know so we can leave or leave the room and then come back in or whatever. But now he's doing it himself. He's telling people what he likes and doesn't like, which is great.
Which it's not going to stop them from doing the birthdays.
Right.
And we really do have to work through that because now he's wanting his own whistle.
Well, listen, it may not stop them from doing the
No,
birthdays,
I know.
but they know now that it affects him. And if other kids
that
do
girl
the
knows,
same thing,
for sure.
if other kids that have
Yeah.
autism or sensitive to sound, they voice their opinions too,
that's true.
it could change things.
A very valid point
Yeah.
that I hadn't thought all the way through. It was great. It was really, really great. For now, I will avoid that time slot, but that was great.
Yeah. So we decided to get you were
Well,
just about
he
to
was
say,
saying
yeah.
he wants a whistle.
Yeah.
I think you asked him if he wanted one, if that would make him
So
feel
he could
better.
blow
And
it.
he said yes.
Yeah.
And he told me if they blow their whistle once, he's going to blow his a million times.
Right, which
So,
is
'cause that's-
fine. You know what? He'll get his point across.
Yeah, and that's what he wants to do.
And I would love to see that.
Right?
I would.
I think it's great.
I want to see him protest. More power to him.
There you go. So that's one thing we're working on. And another thing, because we're talking about how he's able to tell us things that otherwise we wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that before he would never tell us.
Right.
Right? So same thing at Defy. As we've mentioned, Bryce is very afraid of loud popping sounds. So balloons, air pillows, obviously, but floats is another thing that I wouldn't even think about. And we're in Florida and it's summer and they have all these like pool floats that are,
At the trampoline place?
yes.
Oh, I didn't see
And
those.
they're like along the gate or
Okay.
whatever. Not the gate, the fence that they have there. So I really hadn't noticed it either because I don't see the things that Bryce sees.
Mm-hmm.
But what he said to me was before we went in, this is like our second visit, he said to me, "Will the duck be there today?" I'm like, "Will the duck be where today? Will the duck be there today?"
Oh,
I'm
my
like, "What
goodness.
duck, honey? I don't know what duck you're talking about." You know, the big duck. Is it going to pop today?
Oh, my.
I don't know what big duck you're talking. He goes, at Defy, they have the big yellow duck. I said, I never saw a big yellow duck, but you show me when we go in and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So when we walk in, they have the place where you check in.
Mm-hmm.
Above that station is a large yellow inflatable duck
That's hilarious.
that I never looked
I
up
never
and
saw it.
noticed. And he had been thinking since we took him the first time until we took him
About
the
the
second
big
time,
yellow duck.
will that big yellow duck pop?
Oh, my.
How about that?
Yeah.
Now, before, I think he wouldn't have even gone back there and we
Yeah.
wouldn't have known why he wouldn't go back there.
Yeah.
But because he was able to ask the question and show me, he felt safe enough to go in there and get that answer.
Yeah.
And then I explained that's not like a balloon.
Yeah.
Yes, it has air in it, but it's much thicker and it's not going to pop.
Yeah.
You'll be safe. And then I showed him the other ones because that's the first time I noticed they had all the inflatables in there.
That's a good point to share about the anxiety that our kids carry with them. And
Yeah.
sometimes they can't tell us on the spot about what causes them anxiety.
Exactly.
And it may be days, weeks, months later when they tell us about it. You
And
know,
we've
like
had that happen.
when Bryce switched from public school to homeschool.
Yep.
You know, it was the first or second day of homeschool that he told me that school was dangerous.
Right.
And up to that point, he had been there weeks.
Well, in a year prior to that.
And a year prior to that, and he
Yeah.
never said anything.
No.
Come in. This is going to be the Bryce show.
Yes.
Hi. What do you want to say to the people? Go ahead.
Guess that something broke.
Oh, what broke?
Oh no, there went your star net. You got too many bugs. All right. About 10 minutes. We'll be done. Okay, buddy? More or less.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're wrapping.
We are. I got 2 more cute things to share, and then we're done.
We'll close the door.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right. So I like to end this on a happy, fun kind of note. So 2 things with Bryce. He is still very literal, and actually I think it's becoming more obvious to me that he is literal. So when we were at Defy the last time, I knew that we might have this issue because they give him a colored wristband, and they will announce over the speaker every 15 minutes, if you're wearing, for example, a red wristband, your time is now up. And then they make this announcement about all these things that you're not supposed to do, all the rules. Well, Bryce hears that every time. And again, things I don't really know, he listens to. And I do want to say he echoes that as well. He has memorized it, and we'll be at home, and he'll even say, if you're wearing your yellow wristband, your time is now up. No double flips, no this, no gainers. Well, we normally have a 2-hour time slot. And so we normally stay 2 hours because he wants to stay the entire time. But on this night, we needed to leave 30 minutes early. So I had told him, listen, we're going to stay 90 minutes this time. We're not staying 2 hours. So they're not going to call the color of your wristband. We're going to leave when they call a different color. And that's okay. Do you understand that? Yes. Okay. Well, he didn't understand that. So he kept listening for the color, and I said, they're not going to be calling your color, but we're leaving at 6:45. They're not going to call your color. So he would not leave because they had not called his color. So there was one of the young men there, that was the referees, as I called him. I asked him to come over. I motioned him over, and I said, would you please tell him that it is okay to leave now if he's wearing a yellow wristband? And he says, yeah, it's okay. You can leave now. And so Bryce goes, okay. Immediately, he turned around, walked down the stairs, and was going outside. And we had friends there with us. And I said, he's leaving now. I'll see you later. Thanks for meeting us. Like, once he got the permission, he was gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to literally run to catch. I'm like, Bryce, don't leave without me.
I have to mention, too, that when you were talking to him, you said, do you understand me? So a lot of times we'll do that with Bryce because we want to know that we got eye contact, that we have understanding about what's about to happen, right? So now he's picked that up when he's talking to other people.
He does.
Like, I need this. Do you understand me? So it doesn't come across really nice to other people, but it's kind of funny now.
It is kind of funny. We do hear that. Like, do you understand me?
Yeah, do you understand?
We should teach him like that one movie with Jackie Chan. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth?
I don't know what movie that is.
Rush Hour.
Oh, Rush Hour.
So anyway, it was a funny line. Yeah. Okay, so the other last thing to share here.
Yep.
And forgive me, Bryce, if you ever figure out I talk about your bowel movements on a podcast. But Bryce had cracked the screen on his iPad, and you had to ship it away for a day.
Yes.
And yay to Apple, they got it back to us like the following day. It was pretty crazy. But Bryce is very hardcore routine in some things. And one of his hardcore routines is he feels like he can't go poopy if he doesn't have his iPad.
Yeah.
And if we see him scrambling around the house for it, we know, okay, he must need to have bowel movement. Yeah. So I was at work, and Chris sends me this text that says, Daddy, is it okay for me to use the switch to go poopy?
Yeah, it was kind of an emergency sounding from his voice. Daddy, I have to go poopy. Is it okay if I use my switch? I'm like, yeah, buddy. It's like, oh, okay, thanks.
So he needed permission to use the switch instead of the iPad.
It was funny.
So those are the funny things in our world. You just have to laugh at those cute, adorable things. And Bryce is awesome. We love him so much. We are just blessed to be his parents and to be able to navigate this autism journey, and our mantra now is finding joy in the journey. And this is how we find joy in the journey. You find the things you can laugh about. As Ecclesiastes says, there's a time for crying, there's a time for laughing, there's time for all kinds of things. And we just try to balance it all out and
do our best.
Do our best.
Like the Cub Scout motto, do your best.
There you go. And we're happy to be able to share our journey and things with you guys and those who listen to us. And we love all the positive feedback. It really warms our hearts to know that we're helping so many people out there.
For sure.
Just as people have helped us, we get to pay it forward. So thanks for listening. We hope you have a wonderful week. And I'm sure we'll be back here soon to share some more tidbits of the culture world.
That's a wrap, Sandy.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.